Good evening, guys. What's up? We are back for our small cap penny stock show here on Benzinga. As we always do, let's go ahead and mention some call outs and we'll take a look at some stocks while everyone goes ahead and gets joined up. And let me know what you had fun trading this week. It was a really kind of slow week in the penny stock world, but we do have some things that we're watching for tomorrow at the opening bell. So make sure to stick around. And again, while we're letting everyone go ahead and get joined in the stream, make some call outs in the chat and we'll take a look at some stocks, guys. And we do have a list of stocks that we're watching today. Let me know what you like the best. It was a really volatile week in some ways, in some sectors, and it was really slow in others. The penny stock market popped off in a decent way this week. Mid and high caps were a little bit lower, I think. But we got some interesting stuff to take a look at this morning or this afternoon. I'm always used to streaming in the morning, so I might have to remember it's the afternoon now. But yeah, so how about Dogecoin's craziness as well? I thought Dogecoin put in some really interesting moves. Just to take a look at Dogecoin. I know it's not a small cap, but yeah, Dogecoin put in some really interesting movement as well. It's currently at 33 cents, absolutely going nuts right now. Take a look at Dogecoin. Let's glance at it really quick. Here's Dogecoin right here. Look how crazy Dogecoin is right now. Dogecoin is absolutely nuts, and luckily I'm still holding some of Dogecoin. I believe I'm holding it in Bittrex as well. And so is it time for another push for Dogecoin? Let us know what you think about this one in the chat as well. Hey, what's up, Beach Bum? What's up, MW? DPW. Yeah, DPW is an old school stock we've been watching for a while. ENOB. We can glance at ENOB here. But yeah, look at Dogecoin. Absolutely ripping right now. Current movement is huge. Crazy good volume. And yeah, super interesting. Okay, so we're getting some call outs for ENOB. This one's not one that I'm going to day trade, but I think the trend is really solid. I think that the fact that we have been putting in basically pure upward movement over the last few months, back since April, we're currently moving up. We were at about $3 in April, and we're currently up to the $6 level. So we're up a full 100% from April, and good movement. I mean, the only problem with this longer term chart that I see here on ENOB is that it didn't really hold any of the gains it made when it spiked. I'm holding currently, even if I take a look at my Kraken profile here, I am holding, let me see, in the crypto space, I am holding a few different things, to be honest. So hold on one second. Let me open up a new window here, and let me look at what I have in my Kraken portfolio. I know I'm certainly holding at least a sum of I'm definitely holding some Cardano. I'm holding, from what I remember, I'm holding Cardano. I am holding Algo. I am holding Doge. I am holding I'm holding a few different things in the crypto world. And I'm not a crypto expert by any means, but we can glance at my crypto portfolio. Ooh, and it's looking good. We're holding Ethereum Classic. We're holding Cardano, Uniswap, Algorand, Dogecoin, Bitcoin, Tether, and Orchid. And Tether is just US dollar coin, but it's even up some too. So Bitcoin currently up to 57 or 47,000. Look at Bitcoin making moves up to 47,000. So I know this is a penny stock show, but I can't help but look at crypto. I can't help but look at the crypto market as well, just because it's putting in some movement right now. What's up, Tiny? What's up, Andres? But yeah, we're holding Cardano, we're holding Bitcoin, we're holding Dogecoin, Algorand, we're holding a bunch of different things. And that's not even including what we have on Bittrex right now. So we're holding a bunch of different stuff in crypto. But I'm definitely holding some Dogecoin. Not a huge position. I can log into Bittrex to see how much Doge I'm holding. It's not a huge amount, but I'm holding some that I never ended up selling from my last trades. Let me see, holdings. Okay, so yeah, we are holding about 900 Dogecoin. 900 Dogecoin. And so that's looking good too. Stocks I'm buying for swing trade: RKDA, VVPR, WWR, GRWG, ESP, OESX. So that doesn't look bad. We're certainly paying attention to those as well. But yeah, guys, so now that we've spent about 5 minutes going ahead and letting, I don't know why I can't say that right, going ahead. Now that we've had everybody joined up in the last 5 minutes, I'll just say it like that. Let's go ahead and look at our top stocks from this last week, the top stock movers from this past week. Okay, so the first one that we're glancing at is SRGA. Now, I'm not in love with this one, but this one did put in some decent movement in after hours. Again, not one that I'm in love with. We're going to see and react to what it does tomorrow at the opening bell. But this one is up because their director and president, CEO, bought a little bit over 1 million shares at an average price of 93 cents. And anytime an insider, especially a CEO, especially, somebody with some clout in the company, if you will, when they buy shares, that influences the sentiment of the current stock. And so with SRGA here, he bought some shares. He bought over 1 million shares, basically spent the equivalent of about $1 million buying 1,078,701 shares of SRGA. And so with that insider buying, we're going to be paying attention to this one tomorrow. I'm not saying it's going to go up. Anytime a stock drops under $1, the company sometimes has to scramble to fit the NASDAQ listing requirements. And so we're going to look and we're going to watch SRGA at the opening bell. I'm going to preface this entire show, guys. So this is the first stock on my list today. I'm going to preface the entire show with I am not an expert. I don't know what these are going to do. A lot of these are just going to fail. I'm not saying SRGA will or will not fail. I'm just saying I'm going to watch it tomorrow at the opening bell. I'm not saying I'm buying it. I'm just going to watch it to see how it reacts. A lot of these penny stocks are going to rip up and then fail. And there's a lot of sensationalism in penny stocks, and that's not what I'm about. A lot of these are terrible companies. I'm not saying this one is, but a lot of these are just not favorable companies. There's a lot of sensationalist videos like this stock's going to go up 1,000%. That's not what we really do here. Most of these are garbage companies, and we're going to look at them like they're garbage companies, and maybe we'll be able to day trade them in one way or another. Now, again, I like the catalyst. I think the catalyst is good. And because of that, we're going to take a look at it. But, we're going to be skeptical, as always, looking at these penny stocks. Looking at the daily chart is the thing that makes me not like this one that much. But gapping up in after hours right around $1. Maybe we can get some support at $1 plays. Maybe we can get some momentum pushing this thing above $1 and then make another test of maybe 125, 150, stuff like that. Maybe not. Maybe we just fade back into oblivion, but we're watching SRGA nonetheless. Now, one that I'm definitely a little bit more interested in, and it's a little bit more expensive of a stock, but FLGC is one of my favorite. Aside from this big momentum move that we put in on Friday. Look at this movement on Friday. This thing put in some great movement, some really strong action. The volume increased really nicely here about midday, and this thing just reclaimed that upward trend over the VWAP and then just ripped up here. Looking at this one, let's go ahead and get this catalyst out the way. And again, this is FLGC. FLGC, this is Floor Growth. They appointed the lead scientific advisor, Dr. Annabelle Manalo Morgan, who's a PhD, to the board of directors, and they also have a new law in Colombia that puts Colombia at the forefront in terms of regulatory competitiveness with cannabis production. And so, with FLGC being located and having, a lot of their locations in Colombia, this is going to benefit FLGC in a huge way, and it might make them more competitive in the cannabis market. That's ultimately why this thing is moving up, and it's certainly one that we're going to be watching tomorrow into the opening bell. Anytime a stock closes with good volume like this and has this type of catalyst where, number one, the laws are changing in Colombia, and number two, they appointed a new person on their board that is going to be favorable for the growth of the company, we're going to pay attention to FLGC. Again, this is a cannabis stock, and we're certainly going to watch it. And even if we look at the daily chart, the daily chart is great for this one. The daily chart looks really, really strong. The movement is solid. The volume is solid. Recent IPO, this one IPO'd only about a month ago. And since then, it's finally been putting in this huge run, a really obvious upward trend for this one as well. If we look at the upward trend, this one's been moving up for the last week or two. And it's at some really high points now at 17s, right around $17. And so with that, we're going to pay attention to some of these highs up here. We're going to look at this 1840 level. We're going to look at 17. We're going to look at 16 underneath us, looking at these major psychological levels. And we're just going to see if we can break over these points and then hold them as support. You can see this $17 level held a bunch in after hours, right after the closing bell, and then we have this isolated high up here in pre-market that we can pay attention to as well. So that's what we're looking at currently for this one. We'll see how this one goes. Again, just like the last one, guys, I am not in love with any of these stocks. A lot of these are just terrible companies. I can't say if it's FLGC or not, but we're going to pay attention to it. It's got some action into the opening bell tomorrow. Hopefully, we've got some great movement, and it's certainly one that we're at the very least, going to watch in pre-market. So we'll see how that goes, guys. Pay attention to it. And yeah, we'll be watching this one into the opening bell tomorrow as well. Yeah, and we also have a few other stuff that we're looking at today. We have BIOL, and a lot of people paid attention to BIOL after the run and the catalyst that it put in. So let's go ahead and look at BIOL here. Oops, let me erase this. So we're certainly going to be watching BIOL tomorrow as well. Looking at the catalyst for this, we have the catalyst for BIOL right there. You can see that they put in better than expected second quarter sales. They said they continue to experience demand for their dental lasers, and they see the third quarter revenue to be positive. And so that's why we're watching BIOL into the opening tomorrow as well. This one did have a pretty solid gap up. I mean, we have some levels that we're watching here, but if we look at the entire gap up in pre-market Friday, it went all the way up to 98 cents. And the more important thing, I think, on the technical side of this is that we put in some levels that we can now watch into the future with. We got $75 right around here that I think, you know, it's a good little range around the big support and resistance levels here. So we're going to be watching $75. It's a $0.25 level that I just think other traders are going to be paying attention to 75. And so we're going to watch 75. We also have some resistance levels above us that we might be able to play off of, like 90 cents or so right here. And, you know, then we have this big high up here right around 98 cents and $1. So we've got some levels that we're going to watch for BIOL. You know, we have our line in the sand low right around the low of after hours and pre-market. And we're going to see if we get some momentum there. You know, we want to see us hold over that and make the test for $1. And if we do, great. And if not, you know, that's okay too. A lot of penny stock trading is just reactionary. So we're just going to react to what happens to BIOL. We're not going to bet on its success. I don't think that's a smart move in penny stocks. Again, most of these are going to fail, but we're still going to watch it. And yeah, we'll see what happens. From my experience, BIOL hasn't tended to hold its pops. You know, yeah, I mean, that's certainly true. Absolutely true. But it's better than some of these other stocks. Like, you know, if we look at some of the other ones, it's definitely better than something like LMNL. You know, LMNL is one that never holds its gains, as opposed to BIOL, which, you know, it runs and it trends. Like if we look at this, you know, it trends well sometimes, you know, so it's not one that just pops and fails every single time. Specifically talking about what Beach Bum was saying here. It's not one that pops and fails every single time. I mean, it moves and holds some of its gains, and that's really what you want to see. A lot of times these penny stocks are so volatile, they're never going to hold all of their gains. You know, but if we can hold over major levels, and especially one like this that is really trying to fight to stay over $1, then we might get some interesting movement here, and we'll see what happens. You know, that's all we can really do. Again, I always try to preface the stream and kind of have that disclaimer, like, look, these are penny stocks. These are terrible companies. We're not going to be the dudes that pump these things up and then just, you know, lie to people and act like they're the next Amazon. Maybe some of these are, but most of these are just terrible companies that we can catch some momentum from and then move on with our day. And that's really what we're going to treat this one as. We also had a change in ownership. We had John R. Beaver, the director, president, and CEO. I think he owns now 10% of the company. But you know, we're gonna watch it. We're not gonna put all our eggs in this one's basket, if that makes sense. And we'll see what's gonna happen. Moving on to that, we do have LMNL, and you know, I know we just spoke not really negatively about LMNL, but you know, not okay. We're not gonna bet on this one's success either. You know, LMNL down to 260s. Not a great looking daily chart. The only reason I'm really watching LMNL, and you can see the catalyst for this one, is that number one, on Monday, they had an announcement that said that they're going to sell their pediatric disease priority review voucher for $105 million. And so the company is going to come into some money from that sale. Now, is that going to be enough to keep this one up? I don't know. I think the daily chart's looking rough. You know, I think this one had some great momentum back earlier in the week on Monday. And we'll see what happens with this one. It didn't really hold those gains, but later in after hours, we are getting a pop. And the reason, you know, LMNL is popping up is, again, I believe they had a general corporate statement that came out that was somewhat positive. So even though this one ran mostly Monday and didn't hold its gains, it's now back up in after hours from 260 all the way to about 290. And so because we have some type of gap up right now in after hours, we're at least going to pay attention to and watch this one. And ultimately, we'll see what happens, you know. Let's go ahead and move on to the last one. It's not going to be a long show today. There wasn't a lot of action, to be honest, in after hours as opposed to some of these other days. So we have our last one on our list, which is BOXL. And Boxlight was trading higher after dropping better than expected second quarter EPS and sales results. And so Boxlight is trading higher after that. And, you know, we'll see if this one holds its gains. I've been watching Boxlight for some time now. It's one of the things where I'm not in love with it, but it's certainly a stock that I watch on an everyday basis just because it could get interesting. Now, this one had good second quarter results. And if we look at the daily chart here, this one's daily chart isn't terrible. Now, it doesn't really hold its big pops, but it's overall been trending at least break even over the last year, and especially back since we put in this big low all the way in March or April. We've kind of put in a lot of higher lows and been long-term trending up with Boxlight. And now even with this big move, you know, sitting at 224s now, if we can hold over some of these levels, specifically $2, and then continue up, testing these highs up here tomorrow, then I might take some trades. I just want to see it get over the VWAP and specifically hold for BOXL, and we'll see what happens. You know, again, I'm not in love with any of these penny stocks. A lot of these are terrible companies, but we're going to watch Boxlight. It has enough volume, enough eyes on it for me to pay attention to. So we'll see what happens there as well. So now that we have that out the way, we're going to talk about my system for a few minutes. Number one, I'm going to drop this video now instead of at the end of the video. But you can check out our latest video we have on our penny stock system. And again, I can show you the results from this penny stock system. We've been building the system, you know, for a few months now. And the system's working. The system's working. We had another slightly green week last week. But again, if we look at my actual stats, it was definitely a little bit more rough of a week. I'm not going to say it was a terrible week because we still ended green this past week. But it was certainly more difficult, lower volume with the strategies we're using last week. And we were able to kind of come out of it green. You know, it wasn't a perfect week. We definitely had a few losing days last week. I believe we had 2. And, you know, overall, over the last 30 days, we've only had 5 losing days total. So we've been running at pretty good daily accuracy as well. The big thing that you guys got to understand about this system is that it's not always going to work, and that one of the big keys to success with this specific system is being able to figure out when the market is favorable and when it's not. You know, if we look at some of these results here from the SPY, for instance, which a lot of the time influences and is a good gauge of the overall, you know, higher cap volatility, the SPY was almost perfectly sideways Friday, almost perfectly sideways. Not really favorable for momentum strategies. You know, it wasn't really respecting the VWAP. If we look at this, it was purely sideways on Friday. Not a lot of action. And of course, that's a Friday. But even, you know, we had one good day here that we made some money with on the 12th. But even the days before that, like if we look at this day, very sideways day. You know, not a super favorable time to attack trends, which is what we're doing with our system. The day before that, same exact thing. Very sideways, you know, not a lot of opportunity to attack specific trends. And so when that happens, guys, you know, the best thing we can do is scale down. And that's exactly what we did, even the day before that. So this has been one of the lowest volume weeks we've had, specifically talking about trends in the SPY and the S&P 500. And, you know, when you see weeks like this, your job is just to avoid trading them because, you know, we need volatility. Here's a good day with good volatility. But the SPY's mostly been sideways. You know, we put in one really good day, which was Thursday. And aside from that, it was pretty slow and boring. And so on days like that, again, when I'm trading this system, you can see my results and how the market impacted them. But we were still able to end green and have a green week, although very slight, basically break even. But you can see when we have a really volatile market, the system works great. And when the market starts to go more sideways, the system does as well. And that's fine, because the biggest thing you have to understand is that we have to have the discipline to wait for those A+ setups. And I don't mind. You know, at this point, I have enough confidence in the system to understand every week is not going to be favorable. This past week was my first losing week that I've really put in the last few months since I started trading the system with my 30K plus account. And so we'll see how it goes. You know, we're not in love with the system yet, but we're slowly building it. And again, if you guys want more information about that system, go check out the latest video that we dropped on it. We dropped part 2 of our absolute must-watch breakdown of this system. And again, we if you watch part 1 and part 2 of this series that we have on the Beginner Trading channel, you'll see we're getting some pretty solid results, and we break this system down in an understandable way so you guys can understand how I make money with it. We trade both penny stocks and mid and high caps with this system. A lot of the time, I think last week I attacked like BTBT a bunch. BTBT put in some great trending moves. And we also attack stocks like AMD or MU or Disney. We attack Disney a lot. Disney trends really well. And so if you want to see that system, guys, here's the link. We'll post it in the chat, and y'all can check it out. But yeah, now that we have all that out of the way and we showed you the results, let's go ahead and show you what we're really taking advantage of in this system. And it's a really specific thing, okay? It's not the perfect system, but it can be favorable if you attack it correctly. Now, what we're trying to do with this system is specifically identify sentiment changes in stocks. And now, that's not always going to be perfect, but let's look at BTBT as an example here. We have BTBT. And, on Friday, BTBT is maintaining in a specific direction. It's maintaining this upward trend. And as we watch this thing trend here, when this starts to happen, our goal is to identify a sentiment change. And so we have the trend here with BTBT. Our goal is to identify the sentiment change. And one of the ways we do that is using the VWAP. And now you can see the VWAP here. This is telling us the short-term trend. When BTBT is above this level, it's in an upward trend, as you can see here. And when it's below this level, the VWAP is basically saying, hey, look, this is in a downward trend. Now, our goal with this system is to take advantage of the sentiment changes. Now, where do we get a sentiment change here? We get a sentiment change on this downward move. We get this big break underneath the VWAP, and there's a few things that happen when we get this break. Okay, so we get the break under the VWAP. One of the things that happens is that other traders simply lose confidence in the current direction. Now, it's moving up here, and you can see BTBT maintaining this specific trend and moving up. Once we break under the VWAP, traders simply lose confidence in the current direction. When that happens, of course, long traders end up selling their current trades, and short traders end up jumping in these pops. And so what we do is you can see this low of the day here. We wait for it to test this low, which it did here. And once it tests this previous low down here, once it moves down to this area here, we short into the pops. We short into the bounce, cover on the drop right here, and move on to the next one. And so that's a short example of the trade. And you can see we can even short into these subsequent pops if we want to. Any major pop to a resistance level like this, we can short into it here and anticipate that this resistance level is going to reject the stock back down. And now that's a penny stock example with BTBT, but we can take a look at AMD, from Friday. Friday's a great example of a sentiment change as well. And it's the same type of sentiment changes that we're targeting. It's very universal with the system. We're targeting sentiment changes. And so again, AMD, for instance, at the opening bell, we have a sideways or neutral trend. We have a stock that is not really respecting a specific trend here. And so our goal when we're watching this at the opening bell is to say, hey, when is the sentiment changing? When are shorts going to jump in, or when are longs going to jump in? When are shorts going to cover? And that generally happens when we get big range breaks like this. So you can see here's a big range that we're watching. When we see that, we have to tell ourselves and kind of condition ourselves within the system to say, hey, when's this range going to break? And so once we actually get the range break, you can see right here, what happens? Volume shoots in and short traders sell, or short traders cover, I should say, because they don't like this. And long traders gain confidence. And so once we break this system, our next step is just to look for a pullback here. We attack pullbacks. We ride the bounces once we've confirmed a specific direction, and we scalp out on these little pullbacks. That's all we're really doing with the system. And again, I hope you guys can see we can take this both directions. We can take this both ways to where the main goal that we're trying to, put across here, the main thing that we're doing in these different types of trades is we're trying to identify sentiment changes. And regardless of whether we're trading mid and high caps or penny stocks, the sentiment changes can be powerful, and we're using volume as an identificator or as a condition. We need good volume. If we take a look at maybe Disney or Apple, I think had a great example of this as well, where we have this kind of sideways movement here after the opening bell. And again, you can do this. You can document the highs and lows and see where the VWAP is. If the VWAP is in the middle after documenting the highs and lows, then you're in a neutral trend. So you can see the high up here. You can see the low here. You can see the VWAP cutting right between the middle of this range, which again, that's the VWAP saying, hey, yo, you're in a sideways neutral trend, might not be super favorable. And so again, just like the last one, we wait for that trend to break. Here's Apple, sideways neutral trend. We wait for that range to break and we attack pullback right here. And this is a trade we actually got into. So we attack pullbacks here, scalp the bounce. You can then attack this pullback, I guess, to the VWAP, scalp the bounce, and then attack that upward trend. And again, just like the short example, after you get a really nice confirmation in the trend like this here, then you can just, you can buy into these little pullbacks and scalp out over and over and over again, attacking the trend. That's really what we're doing with the system. Again, these are the results of that system. That's really what we're doing here. And it simply works, guys. I mean, the system works. Is it perfect? No, but it certainly works. And you can see, in the system, we maintain about 60%, 60%, not crazy profitable, nothing, to use sports betting as an example. The best sports bettors in the world maintain 56% accuracy. We're maintaining about 60% with this system, but it's profitable. It makes me anywhere between, $700 to $1,500 per month with a 30K account. Makes me, if that continues, that's roughly 80% a year. Those are pretty good percentages. The S&P puts in what, 12% a year, 10%, 8%. And so, that's the goal. And of course, the next step is to scale it higher and higher and higher. And we'll see how that goes. We'll try to continue to update Benzinga on how that system building is going. But I can't reinforce this enough, guys. This system 100% certainly works. It's one that I've been building for months now, and I'm really happy with the system so far. Again, you can check out the link in the chat if you want to see it. We just posted it in the chat if you want to watch the system and see the breakdown. Aside from that, guys, I think we're going to keep it a pretty short show today. The most interesting thing going on right now is, Dogecoin. Dogecoin is absolutely ripping up. We're at 35 cents for Dogecoin, making huge moves right now. And so Dogecoin is putting in absolutely huge moves at this point in time. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with it. We're going to go ahead and close the stream down. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, guys. Good luck. Remember, you can come check out our channel. Go watch that video. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Click the notification bell on our channel. We certainly appreciate it if you do. And if not, we'll see you guys next time. We appreciate you all being here for today's show. And yeah, good luck, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Remember, hit that like and subscribe button here on Benzinga. And good luck. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day, guys.